friends, this is Aromie here. Welcome back to our life. Baxter DLC. We're here with our mans. Having a very intense conversation. It was a bad idea to make you deal with that. I won't sour everything that we did. Jude, Scott, Miranda, and Terry worked for by ruminating on my indiscretions the night before the wedding. At least not for any longer. His voice was firmer, a change from moments before. He drew his line in the sand for the evening, meaning that you weren't going to be able to pry any more out of him. That's so selfish, bitch! I didn't even get to say anything I wanted to say. But perhaps later, if you're interested. Oh, okay. Patience is a virtue. Oh. I get it. We're definitely going to talk later. Fine, I'll let it go. Okay, I understand. You can't keep running from it forever, Baxter. Alright, I get it. I get it. Can we please see you with your natural hair for once, though? I can't believe it's gray. It's beautiful. You've been the one who started it. You were going to finish it. He didn't give you a response outright, instead favoring a practiced smile. There was a tinge of regret that lingered in his eyes at telling you no again. At least this time, once and for all, it was a no for now. It's a no for now, not just no.
Good.
Can I offer you a glass of water, mi chico? Still or sparkling? Or there's oat milk if you're feeling fancy. The only other drinks in the apartment are, as touched on before, not appropriate for the present situation. I won't repeat every mistake of my life, only the largest, most impactful ones. Being offered water while teetering on the precipice, whatever, of a deep, meaningful conversation, huh? Where had you heard that one before? Except where you'd been trying to help Baxter open up on that fateful. I can't read. Where you've been trying to help Baxter open up on that fateful evening long ago. Here he was once again deploying social niceties. No, that's not necessities. Whatever the fuck this word is, to make sure that didn't happen. Talk about ironic. I'm assuming us getting him that souvenir does not play into his future story at all. That sucks. I was hoping it would. It was strange that the events from 5 years prior should keep showing relevance in the present, but with the steps out of order and the meanings jumbled up. As if the two of you were tentatively resuming the motions of a dance you'd thought forgotten, an encore of a summer which had since faded into memory, variations on the theme. Baxter was still regarding you with a polite expression, faintly exquisitive. Right. The drink, that was the real question. No chance of having one of those inappropriate drinks. Baxter's eyes were serious, though his manner was light and friendly.
No, thank you.
I would really rather not. I apologize. Oat milk. It's random. I don't like sparkling water. And I don't like water like that. Oat milk, why not? That'll be different. Let me take care of that. Please feel free to make yourself at home in the living room. I promise you the sofa and chairs are comfortable, despite their boxy appearance. You opted for the sofa and eased yourself down into the variously colored cushions. It was a pleasant surprise to find that Baxter hadn't been kidding. Your seat was nice and plush. Your host, busy himself with the fridge, had been intimately acquainted with, fetching a can of sparkling water along with a carton of oat milk. As he did so, you couldn't stop yourself from taking a peek at the refrigerator shelves from where you were sitting, wondering how much it resembled the one in his rented condo. That had been a paltry and tragic affair, and thankfully it was a thing of the past. Baxter now kept a healthy range of foodstuffs in his own home. He was looking after himself. Having taken care of the refreshments, Baxter made his way over to you and seated himself in a chair. Your glasses, veiled with fresh condensation, were placed on the coffee table. He went to the effort of placing coasters underneath each one with his now free hands. A minute's pause was filled by the two of you slowly sipping your drinks. Then Baxter returned his glass to its place and took a stab at conversation. He elected for something easy, starting to run over the plans for tomorrow once more, with a focus specifically on what you and he would be doing, rather than the happy couple.
Now.
To clarify, I would take care of the decorations in the morning alongside Terry, Miranda, and the other members of Jude's family. In the meantime, you'll need to... and so forth. It was a subject entirely within his wheelhouse, and you nodded vaguely along as he went through the itinerary in stages, asking him questions if he needed clarification. Eventually, he ran out of details to touch upon, and you both ran out of stuff to drink. It was decided that now was the time to tackle the remainder of the cake. In the kitchen once again, Baxter retrieved the carrot cake from the freezer and placed it on a wooden cutting board with the same gentleness as if it was a newborn baby. What came next was entirely incomparable to childcare. He selected a large serrated knife from a block on the counter. He passed over the stencil prepared earlier while he tested the surface of the cake with his fingers. Satisfied with the consistency and temperature, he put the stencil on top. There was a moment of adjustment, lining the paper up so the cake was centered underneath. Then Baxter made a small murmur of relief.
Hallelujah.
Thank goodness the cake didn't turn out too small. This should be doable. All I have to do is follow the guidelines and we have so nicely laid out. He stepped back to give him enough space to work without bumping his elbows. With the knife in one hand and the other pressing down the stencil to steady it, Baxter set about carving. He worked slowly and methodically, removing the bulk of excess with straight, clean cuts that merely scraped the outline of the stencil. Then moving inwards, he began to refine the curved edges. The scraps of surplus cake were tossed into the pan it had been baked in, forming a small amount of crumbly fragments. He wondered if he'd ever watched Xavier do something like this before, or perhaps he'd seen one of the many cake competition shows on these days. He went at the cake fearlessly. Regardless, once there was no cake left protruding from underneath the stencil, he peeled back the paper to reveal a controller-shaped cake. While that was, of course, the expected outcome, the whole point of making a template, in fact, you experienced a thrill at seeing it work. Baxter was as happy about it as you were. He beamed up at you, making a brief jazz hand motion to emphasize the finished product, like he'd perform a magic trick. One controller cake, as ordered. Our hard work with the guideline paid off magnificently. Thanks, you did a good job.
It's doable.
Thank you as well. Now in terms of decorating, I should be fine. Cutting a custom design was at the edge of my comfort zone. The remainder of the process will be much more manageable. You flash in with thumbs up, willing to keep helping, and not resolved to watch. Well, I kind of want to see him do it. I'll give him thumbs up. Oh, that'd be very kind of you. You can make it a joint effort then. What? I thumbs upped. Whatever. I assumed the thumbs up and the rest was like me helping him anyway. You started to tidy, I don't know. Helping him clean up, I guess. You started to tidy the work surface a little, sweeping stray crumbs and fragments of carrot cake into a cupped hand and shepherding them to the waste disposal. Baxter gathered the supplies. He brought out the bowls of frosting and arranged them in a neat line on the counters beside the cutting board. Pausing only to take in a calming breath, Baxter took a smaller knife and began to heap. Oh, okay, I'm watching him. Pressing onto the controller, starting with the main red color of the body. It became readily apparent that Baxter's decorating skills hadn't improved. Oh no, hadn't improved since the last time you'd seen him attempt it. He had a particular trouble with the cake's unusual geometry. It was harder than he expected to cover the sides evenly, especially when it came to the sharper corners. At first, the frosting was lumpy, with little whips coming off where he pulled the knife out. After a while, he began to lag, frustration getting the better of him. He raised his messy frosting-covered hands and looked at you imploringly. He was timing out. You switched places, taking up the station in front of the cake. Baxter hovered to one side. He picked up where he left off, distributing the bright red goop as best as he could.
Bravo!
If it weren't for your assistance, Michiko, I'd have thrown this cake out of the window by now. Some poor pedestrian down below would be having the worst night of their life. From there, you both added the remaining details using a couple makeshift piping bags. Those were engineered by simply snipping the corners off some plastic Ziploc bags. The buttons and joysticks were laid in the not quite black, with some almost but not exactly white used for the markings, and that completed the illusion. The dessert had taken on the form of a modern electronic device. You and Baxter stood back to admire your handiwork. It didn't look bad at all. Mom would have said that it was good enough to eat. I mean, it's still gonna get eaten. Just like, don't take some crazy close-up shots of the controller, okay? It was never going to compete with a fully 3D printed like a commercial bakery could have made, but for a homemade cake prepared at the last minute, it would do just fine. Scones, you were going to love it. You were convinced. Baxter was fawning over the finished cake with a mixture of pride and abject relief. He wiped his forehead using the back of his hand, being careful not to smear himself with any of the frosting that still clung to his fingers. Oh my god. It is finished. We have a groom cake. With this, we can hope to see the couple's dream fulfilled with a little more fully.
You are incredible.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
Incredible.
Oh my god, oops. Don't tell me that and then look like this, bro. I'm grateful for your help, Michiko, truly. This wouldn't have been possible without you. He tried to point out that he would probably have managed on his own, but Baxter dismissed the idea with a wave of his hand. If not for your company, I'd like to be scraping off the walls. I'd likely be scraping cake off the walls. And besides, I wouldn't have suggested making the grimace cake in the first place if not my prior experience with overnight confection catering.
See?
And I have you to thank for that. See? A watertight argument. You'll simply have to accept my appreciation. He faced you with his most winning smile, attempting to dazzle you into submission. You ducked your head, pleased yet a little embarrassed. It's not like you were in it for the praise. Or am I? Look down at the fruits, cake, of your combined labor. Overall, you were proud of the effort. This cake, it was like you were Baxter's baby. Your heart did a little wobble seeing Baxter so happy. You still thought it'd be a bit silly to be moved by a cake. If anything happened to that cake, you'd probably die. Mostly, you were glad it was over and done with. No, I think seeing Baxter so happy is cute. With the utmost care, Baxter proceeded to put the cake safely into a container and stow it in the fridge, arranging things so that it had its own dedicated shelf for ease of retrieval. A glance at the clock on his watch showed it past 1 in the morning. Oh no, you hadn't counted on finishing up that late. Baxter's expression tensed. He'd realized the same issue. Then his shoulders slumped and he made a gripe of displeasure at the back of his throat. It'll be almost 2 a.m. by the time we get back to Scott and Jude's house. I'm sorry, I should have been better prepared, or at least able to let yourself in. Oh no, speaking of being better prepared, you should definitely have thought to ask Jude for a spare key. You hung your head, shamefaced. Baxter's brow furrowed once again, and he began to wear his bottom lip with his teeth. You could almost see the machinery turning over in his brain. I see, it's far too late for us to wake them up, not with their extremely important date today. He ran a hand through his hair, letting his head fall back and sighing with exasperation. This has been a complete failure on my part. It seems I'm not a very good planner.
Forgive me.
I can only apologize, Michiko. You need your rest as much as anyone. If you aren't totally opposed to it, you could take the guest room here for the night. I keep it furnished just in case, though it has yet to see use. Oh, he's so cute. You'd be welcome to sleep there, and I can drop you off back at Scott and Jude's in the morning, so you'd still have an opportunity to get changed before the event. Sleepover! If you're sure you don't mind. Thanks, Baxter. That'd be a big help. You're grown great. That's exactly what you needed. Thanks, Baxter. Though you said that the offer as calmly as you could manage, your mind was reeling. You were doing something you could have only ever dreamed of a few days ago. It almost didn't seem possible. Life could be pretty amazing sometimes. I know it's not ideal, but thank you for being flexible, Michiko. And here I was thinking that it was my talent. His tone was light and humorous, filled with that typical Baxter sparkle, but you noticed his eyes were softer, more restrained. He averted his gaze, seeming hesitant. I wonder if he cut himself off, flinching before an imagined impact. He had raised a hand towards you, as if to touch the hand you had rested on the countertop. If you want to hold my hand, you can. Just say so. He thought better of it, reaching instead to pat you on the arm. Motherfucker. I dropped my mouse. I dropped my mouse, getting frustrated. Okay, where was I? Instead, to pat you on the arm. He friend-zoned me. Baxter didn't meet your eyes or even continue where he left off. We should get some sleep. Yeah, we should. Passing out in the middle of a wedding was exactly on your bucket list. The two of you probably made ready for bed. Baxter showed you down the hallway to the guest room, then rooted around in one of the bathroom cabinets for a spare toothbrush. You didn't have pajamas, and Baxter seemed either unwillingly or simply too awkward about the situation to offer you any spares. It was fine. You managed with just the clothes you had. Ooh, it's very guest room-like. Very, boring. It's like a hotel kind of bedroom setup. But it seems very Baxter-like. After satisfying himself that you're as settled as you could be, Baxter bade a brief farewell.
Take care.
Rest well, Michiko. I'll see you bright and early in the morning. It's number 2 or 4. Let's go with 4. A smile broke across his face. You never seem to run out of ways to surprise me, Michiko. I worried it was merely an inconvenience, but I had fun too. Baxter bobbed his head before ducking away completely inside his bedroom. He closed the door. You headed into your room, went straight over to the spare bed, and tucked yourself in. Sleep had the good grace not to keep you waiting, not after such a tiring day. Soon you were drifting off into a deep slumber, head empty save for the smell of unfamiliar bedsheets and carrot cake. You're woken by the shrill sound of an alarm that you vaguely remember setting on your phone the night before. You fumbled around on the bedside table to turn it off. Sitting up in bed, bleary-eyed and yawning, you could see that it was a beautiful day. The sky was a pristine blue. The tops of the nearby buildings were gilded in the morning sun. Bro, so pretty. You dressed and ambled out into the living room, sleepily wondering what Baxter might have in the way for breakfast, or of breakfast. That was until you were confronted with something that chased all thought of food from your head. From down the hallway came a sort of clattering, thumping noise. Every so often you could make out a muttered curse, and the sound of someone moving about. The door to the master bedroom was ajar, though you couldn't make anything out through the crack. The commotion was coming from inside. Was Baxter okay? You crept nervously down the hallway, bracing yourself in case the door suddenly sprang open. It didn't. It sounded as though California was experiencing a miniature earthquake localized entirely in the back corner of one 11th floor apartment, which was in the process of upending his belongings. You kind of snatched of Baxter's voice. There was a groan of frustration, and he muttered an expression that you could have sworn was clucking bell, or at least something very much like it. There was a hand to the door and rapped it gently with a knuckle. No response. He tried again louder, and there was still nothing. Peering into the room, you could see an untidy mess of pants and shoes and other articles of clothing littering the floor. You watched as a purple button-down sailed subtly into view and landed in the heap. Your attention was drawn to the far wall past the chaos, where an assortment of knickknacks were arranged on 2 sets of shelves. You spotted... Oh my god, this bitch! This bitch had it the whole time! You spotted a familiar necklace among them. He kept it. And it's showcased. He didn't, like, box it away or anything. He self-sabotages himself. Anyway, this is where we're going to end today's episode off. Thank you guys for watching and stay beautiful. And I'll see you guys in the next one.